Hey guys, I'm Ope. I'm a third year ENT resident at the University of Miami Hospital. And I just wanted to, first of all, congratulate you all for getting to this point in your medical school careers. And I wish you the best as you begin studying for step one. Um, so I just wanted to share some of my experiences with step one studying and also third year. So I studied for step one during the summer before third year started. Um, I decided to go on the SMI trip to Trinidad. And so that gave me about 5 weeks to study after second year was completed and before the trip. And so that actually made the studying period much more enjoyable because I had something to look forward to. And it also helped me to trust in God that even though I was studying for one less week, um, I was trusting that He would still help me to do well. And one of my favorite verses to think about during this time was unless the Lord builds a house, the laborers labor in vain. And to me, that just meant that unless God was helping me and working in me, unless I acknowledged Him, unless I, continue to make Him first in my life, then I could do nothing. That all my efforts would be in vain. So I definitely took that to heart. I made sure to spend time with Him daily in His Word and in prayer, and that was very encouraging through the whole time. One thing I used to do was write encouraging Bible verses on post-its and putting it on my mirror in the bathroom. And that was just helpful because I constantly had like positive thoughts, encouraging promises that I was reading. So that was very helpful.
Step one is a time of great uncertainty. You feel like your entire career pivots on it, and that if you don't get the score you want, that everything you've worked for will not be achieved, and that you won't be able to do what you want to do. And that provokes an incredible amount of anxiety because if you put that pressure on yourself, there's just nothing you can really do to get away from that. What step one needs to be is a time of great trust in the Lord's sovereignty over your life and His will for your life. And it becomes if you let the Lord work in your life during that time, it can become a time where you really can rest in His providence and allow Him to give you the discipline that you need to do well. And that was the first time that I'd ever really experienced that, I would say. And I think it had a lot to do with encouragement from other people, encouraging me to take some time off on Sundays, not only some time, but the whole day off. And that's a step in faith, right? Because most of your friends will be studying 7 days a week. And then also to stay in community with those who were going through this at the same time and had the same perspective. So for me, it was a time of confidence that God was going to accomplish in me what He had planned for me, and that was better than what I thought I wanted to do, which at the time was radiation oncology, which is a relatively competitive residency from a step one perspective. So is what habits helped me stay in the Spirit during the study period, starting every day with just a quick, quiet time, just meditating on the anxiety that I was prone to and what God's Word says about our steps. We plan our paths, but the Lord directs our steps.
So again, I think the most important part of that time was um, the fact that I was able to control the schedule myself, make sure that I got enough sleep, and break out times to both do personal Bible study and continue going to Bible study with my class. Always taking time for going to church because there's really no excuse for not doing any of those since you're the only one dictating what you're doing with your time. You definitely have enough time to study while doing all the other things you'd want to be able to do. There's no way you'll get an effective 12 hours of studying in during a day, maybe 10 at the max. I think 8 or 9 is a good target. And so when you're doing 8 or 9 hours of studying a day, 6 days a week, you're going to cover a lot of material. You're going to get through what you need to get through, but you also have plenty of time to relax, honestly, but continue being in the Word, continue being in fellowship, continue going to church. So I think just making those priorities when you're deciding what you're doing with your time is the most important thing. And then really sticking to the commitment to study less than maybe your peers say they're studying, and just realize that you're still getting enough studying in. 8 or 9 hours a day is plenty. You've been preparing for this for 2 years with your classes, tests, everything is leading up to this, and this is sort of just putting a final ribbon on it. So work hard during the times that you've decided you're going to work, and take time off during the times that you've decided you're not going to work, and just resist the temptation to feel like you need to be studying every waking hour, because that's not going to help you on the test, and it's not going to help you mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually either.
So what did spiritual life look like during step one? I don't think it looked very different for me. Looking back, I really wish I would have been more disciplined, had better spiritual discipline, especially going to church on Sundays consistently, and worshiping and letting it be a true worship service, and really keeping the Sabbath holy. I did not do a good job of that and setting clear kind of boundaries during medical school of, I'm going to study Saturday and then Sunday, whether it's, even like midday Sunday through midday Saturday, that's time I'm not going to study. I'm going to give that time and trust that time to the Lord. I wish we would have done that better. I got married after first year of medical school, and having a spouse helped me so much. In sanctification, you can't really run away. You're there, and you have to work things out and work through problems. And having a spouse really helped me stay grounded and not let board study just become this overwhelming idol and just consuming everything about me. Because you're going to see it if you haven't already in classmates, and especially people that are non-believers. It's everything to them. There's this lie that this is going to determine your future and your specialty and your residency and your happiness, and that's just not true at all. Thing that I think was a big witness to our classmates was that the guys in my class, we wanted to go on the mission trip to Ethiopia. To do that, we had to take boards a little bit early. It may have been a week or two, and that meant, studying less than other people may have. And I think that was a big witness to classmates. I remember one of my Indian classmates asking me, how you're crazy. I mean, you're going to take time away from studying for boards to do this mission trip. And that was just a great opportunity to share with them and say, hey, school's important, but there's something that's more important to me. And I really think God is going to bless our time. And I think everybody on the trip did probably better than average, most people. So God really just blessed us and used that time. Yeah, I think being involved in community and local church it's so huge.
Because this was a bit of a transitional point for me. I would say, my habits were okay. They weren't great. And so I was reading the Bible a little bit here or there, again, around sort of what our Bible study was doing. But as far as something, regular, I remember more being, kind of nose in the books, the medical books. Spiritually, I mean, man, we took such a big step forward, right at that time, really, when we went off on the mission trip to Merida, Venezuela, and it was just such a transformative experience. Before and after that experience was so much more different than say before and after step one, as far as something that actually impacted my life. But yeah, I'd say transitional, but nearly explosive just before, step one. So yeah.
Studying for step one. So when I was studying, I think what was really helpful and encouraging was trying to make sure that I was still reading the Bible, and I made effort only about like 5 minutes in the morning every weekday to read part of the Bible, which is very short amount. Sometimes it'd be like one chapter, whatever I could do in 5 minutes. And something else that was encouraging was I would write my favorite verses. And then when it came to the actual exam day, whenever there was like a break in between questions, I looked at those verses. And so it was just really encouraging to look at those while it was like during my test day. So that's what really helped me. And I hope it helps you too.
So honestly, I feel like my spiritual life during that time was kind of shallow. I would pray daily, but they weren't extensive prayers. They were kind of shallow, hurried. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time reading my Bible because I was sick of reading. And I feel like I missed an opportunity for growth. I think I did a good job of staying in the Spirit. So I will give you advice from what I've learned now, which is the importance of doing a morning devotional. It doesn't have to be extensive. It can be like 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, I wake up pretty early, like 3:30 or 4, so I don't have 30 minutes to spend reading, but 5 or 10 minutes in the morning of reading the Word and then, praying over that is so incredibly important. It just sort of sets your heart right for the day, and God works through that theme for the day. And time, what I've learned, you learn it in medical school and then in residency too. Time's pretty much your most precious resource. And so I'll just share from Malachi 3:10. God says, "Bring the full tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test," said the Lord of hosts, "if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down for you a blessing until there is no more need." And in that context, he's talking about tithing, like, wheat and whatnot. But the way that I've applied it is recognizing that tithing my time, like bringing my best to God of my time first in the day, is something that he never fails to bless. And
during step one, studying what habits help me stay in the Spirit, daily having a quiet time, recognizing and knowing that Satan was going to attack, and having verses of Scripture to fight that and immediately combat that, remaining in community, continuing to go on Sundays to church and be a part of corporate worship. All those things were extremely important.
So, spiritually, I sort of created a space that I had every day in order to just spend time with the Lord and sort of just be still and clear my mind, remember what I was doing and, excuse me, who I was doing it for. So I think, honestly, I grew more during step one studying than I have during any other specific period of time, just because I totally had to learn how to fully rely on God. I had to each morning wake up and say, all right, God, let's do this. Sort of practically what that looked like was I decided to go through the book of Ephesians, and I just sort of broke up the entire book and had a section that I studied every morning from 6 a.m. to 7, sort of combined it with my breakfast time, and just really dug in and had some prayer. Sometimes it would be, just like listening to music and sort of meditating. Sometimes it would be sort of really digging into the Word. But while it varied sort of what I did specifically during each hour every day, it was an hour every day dedicated. Sort of the first thing I did was spend some time with God.